the California primary happened 2 days ago, and my question for the day, and we can really discuss this, why was our turnout so low? And I'm not even speaking just the whole turnout overall. I'm talking progressives in general. If you added up David Hildebrand, Allison Hartson, and Pat Harris, all the progressives that ran for Senate, they still only would have finished sixth. If you would have combined all of them, they would have finished sixth. And Bernie had way more votes. David Hildebrand did a little analysis that he posted on Twitter. Yeah, Edwin's pointing that out as well. David tweeted that. Something's not clicking right. And I know there's some shadiness in the system. There were 118,000 people that were left off the list. And one thing I would be very curious to know is that how many of those people, because some of you guys tweeted me, some people tweeted me and said they were among the people left off the rolls, and they also pointed out after 2016 we Dem exited. So I would be very curious to know, and I don't think there's any statistic out there, nor do I know exactly how we'd be able to figure this out without being privy to some insider information on the rolls themselves, but how many of the people left off the voting rolls were registered independent and maybe used to be registered Democrat or Republican even and exited? How many people that were left off the rolls fell into that category? That's something I'd be curious to know. Now, on the flip side of that, just saying, oh, it was rigged, that doesn't cut the mustard for me either. There's a bigger issue here, and we can't just throw our hands up and say, it's rigged, they cheated. Do we have to keep an eye on that? Of course we do. Because, yeah, we do not have honest election processes in this country. I mean, we have it set up for cheating to take place. So I'm certainly not going to... I'm certainly not going to be naive to think that we were given a fair shake. On the other hand, I'm certainly not going to just throw my hands up and say, well, they cheated anyway, it's futile either. I also want to say what went wrong. Because something went wrong. Shadiness of the voting rolls aside, something still went wrong. And I don't know what that something is. So, you know, yesterday I talked to somebody who was a young person, and it doesn't make any sense to me why somebody like that wouldn't be part of the progressive movement. And I feel like if somebody like him would have spoken to an Allison Hartson or a Pat Harris or a David Hildebrand or a Delane Easton or a Gail McLaughlin especially, I feel like they would have gone out and voted for that person. So let me turn it over to you guys. Why are our numbers so low? And don't just say, oh, cheating, cheating, cheating. We know there's some shady stuff afoot that we're still uncovering. But putting that aside, because unfortunately that's something we can only control so much. But there's things that we can control. And that is the way that we mobilize, the way that we strategize. That's something we can control. Or at least have more direct control over. Ron, last week's Bill Maher show had Bernie. He made no mention of the coming primary, and Maher said, don't demonize rich. Everyone wants to be rich. Bill Maher, man, that guy. Oh, that is such a dumb talking point when people say stuff like that. Like, oh, come on, man, don't demonize rich people. They're not. It's like, why are you even... The marginalized group in your mind is rich people. That's your marginalized group. That's what you're worried about. Rich people are people too. Like, what is your problem? They've already won. We're worried about everybody else. Hey, rich people are people too. What the hell are you talking about? Who gives a shit? I've had people make that point to me on shows before, and I'm just like, what are you... Are you serious? Like, that's... Okay. What insight? Jordan says, being a part of the progressive movement involves accepting a lot of inconvenient truths that I feel most people are not willing to admit. Okay, well, like what? Give us an example. It is easy, Ron. People have lost their faith. I don't think faith has anything to do with this. I only believe in one thing. I know faith and belief aren't necessarily the same thing, but they, there's a lot of crossover, right? I only believe in one thing, and that's love. Love's the only thing I believe in. Period. And I can discuss that with. I don't want to really get into that. I don't want to get into that, but love's the only thing I believe in. And that being said, I don't know if faith has anything to do with it. I want to be a doer. I want to go out and do. I don't want to have faith in something. Balthazar, the question is, why are our numbers so freaking low? Why was the turnout so pathetic in California? And I'll use the words pathetic. I mean, I know some people, they're trying to be optimistic. They're saying, oh, come on, we didn't, it wasn't so bad. And I appreciate optimism. I really do. I'm not trying to disparage anybody. But a loss is a loss. And I don't want to tie it up and put a bow on it. I have no interest in doing that. So if people lost faith in voting and that's all there is to it, why did so many people show up for Bernie? Why did so many people vote then? A lot of people I talked to did not know there was an election Tuesday. Okay, well, how do we change that? It's good to be optimistic, but we need to be realistic. We got crushed, absolutely. People will die before they admit Obama was a bad president. Also, no one will admit America is an empire. Hating Trump is enough for people to feel good about themselves. That's true. That's true. People do not believe that any politicians are honest. Okay, so help elect new ones. If you don't believe any politicians are honest, help elect new people that are entering the system to try to make it better. And if you're going to say, well, they're not honest either, well, then run. Run yourself. Dems have not and will not change. Yeah, we know. Absolutely. I still have no clue why we don't vote on weekends and make election day state and federal holidays. I agree. I fully agree. Well, I mean, the system's designed for low voter turnout. They want low voter turnout because that assures the status quo stays the same. People in California didn't absentee mail-in ballots or election booklets. Why even have a primary if you're not going to debate and give people an actual choice? The Dem Party should just be honest and tell the American people the party bosses are going to choose the nominee. I get that, but we need to etch-a-sketch this BS. One reason the Justice Democrats did poorly is because, Pacific Coast Coalition. All right. Well, that's... Okay. What do I think? I think we didn't have a very good ground... Well, Here, let me work on this. What I think is the reason is, well, I think there's a number of factors. First of all, we didn't really have a unified strategy. When you're going to split the progressive vote, which we did in a number of instances, there were 2 Greens running for the same seat. There were, 3 progressives running for Senate. There were a number of instances where we did not have a unified voice, where we did not have a unified strategy. That's an issue. And, it's not a matter of one person's entitled to democracy and one person isn't. It's a matter of, all right, we really have a similar agenda. We have a movement on our hands. Let's work together to try to get some efficient results, to try to win. And, yeah, electoral politics isn't the only way to change things. Of course it's not. If it was, we'd really be screwed. If it was, there'd be no point in doing this, quite frankly. There are many other ways. Of course there are. However, you gotta win every now and again. You still gotta pull some W's. That's part of it. So yeah, I think that having a agreed upon cohesive strategy is step number 1. And we didn't do that. That didn't happen. So I think that's the biggest thing. I would say that is the number 1 biggest thing. I think that, yeah, there's still a lot of, there is still a lot of corruption in the system. And again, this comes down to, so you got to get some, Ruben Major, who did this show, was really calling out the corruption that went on. He was really calling for a transparent process, and he's been calling out the corruption that happened 2 days ago. That's the type of guy you want to be your Secretary of State. Somebody who's committed to an honest and fair election process. So that maybe something like this won't happen in the future. And I know it's not as simple as getting better people in office, but, trying to get better ideas in there is a start, because there's still going to be a machine behind things. So why not get better people in that machine? So I think that's the biggest thing. But as far as why the turnout was so low, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I think part of it is, I do wish Bernie would have been more vocal as far as really endorsing a lot more people. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.